Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Diversity is Lit Book Club. Our July. Oh my gosh, it's August right now. But our July. Oh my gosh. Our July. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure it's going live, but it was like messing up for me. Hold on.
It's live.
Yeah,
It's
it
live.
was. Then I was trying to mute it, and then it went to like a different video. So okay, we're here. Hi. So we are going to be discussing our July Book of the Month pick, which was also for Disability Pride Month. It was the Luis Ortega Survival Club by Sonora Reyes. So super excited to chat about this book. There's we knew right away when we started talking, we're like, we're gonna have a good discussion for sure. There will be spoilers, so be aware of that. If you haven't read the book and you're okay with hearing spoilers, then you can keep watching. If not, then feel free to read the book and then come back and watch the discussion, but we're happy to have you here either way. Really quick, I'm going to say hello to some people that are here. Yay, Felicia. Hello. Felicia is always first to my Monday motivation writing sprints. So she's like first to this one too. I love it. And then Hunter's usually at the sprints. Hi, Hunter. Good to see you here. So I'm going to let my lovely co-hosts introduce themselves. We do have one missing, Alicia. She might hop into the comments, but she is also linked down below. So I'll let Heather start.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Heather Venkat, known as WriteHollyDavis on the internet. And I am kind of on hiatus as a young adult author, but writer. But I've been doing a lot of reading, so hopefully I can end my hiatus. But I typically write fantasy and contemporary.
Yay.
I guess I can go. I'm Vanessa, Vanessa Marie Books on all my platforms. I am a fantasy, paranormal, and horror writer. I also write a bit of poetry as well, and nonfiction. And I'm a diversity reader as well. So,
Yay.
Oh, it's my turn. Hello, everyone. I'm Teresa Beasley. I write under the pen name T.A. Beasley. And I write young adult and adult thrillers. I'm also a podcaster over at A Reader's Book Corner. And I am excited to talk about this book.
Yes, I am too. So before we dive into our initial overall thoughts, and if you're watching this either live or in the replay, feel free to share your thoughts as well as we kind of go through talking about the book, because that's the fun part, is getting to chat with you guys about it. But the disability rep that is in this book is autism and selective mutism, along with ADHD and neurodivergent rep, portraying sensory issues, overwhelm with physical touch on the page. The MC has dealt with sensory issues even before the sexual assault takes place, most likely a part of her autism. And the trigger content warnings are recurring mentions of off-page rape, exploration of trauma related to sexual assault, rape, emotionally abusive partnership, rape culture, sexual harassment, on-page sexual assault, slut shaming, bullying, non-consensual drug use, infidelity, biphobia, panic attacks, anxiety, gaslighting, victim blaming, codependent parent, strained parental relationship, and dissociation.
and the most
A mouthful.
And domestic violence.
Yes. Thank you. And domestic violence. I knew, I was like, that always happens. We have a long list and then there's still like one or two things that are missed. Hi, Zuko. And sorry if my cats come across here. They're like, you're here now. You were gone all day. And I'm still gone. Felicia writes thrillers too. So that's fun.
Cool.
Nice.
So our first question is, what are your general overall thoughts on the book? What did you rate it, whether Goodreads or Storygraph or whatever? How many stars would you rate it? And now, so Vanessa was the one who read this book in June. And also, by the way, Sonora Reyes goes by they, them. So if you can try to respect their pronouns, but I know sometimes it can be hard to do that. But yeah, so just to say that. But anyway, so I know Vanessa was the one who was like, this is so good. There's disability rep. It could be part of the Disability Pride Month. So we jumped on it because we read The Lesbiana's Guide to Catholic School by Sonora Reyes last June for Pride Month. And so I was very happy to be able to read another book by them. But so Vanessa, I don't know if you want to start because you've got 2 months of waiting to talk about this book.
I'll wait to talk with you guys, but I did read it last month for another book club that I'm in.
Nice.
But so I love this one. I loved the first one that we read by Sonora, The Lesbiana's Guide to Catholic School. It was one of my favorite books last year. This one is one of my favorite books this year. And I really wanted to suggest this book for us to talk about because I thought that there was so much to it in terms of talking about consent and bodily autonomy, what that looks like, what that means, and also neurodivergency and how our world society isn't built for people who are neurodivergent, and what that can kind of look like as well. So I was super excited that we had to pick this one up. Like I said, I read it in June, but then I listened to the audiobook again yesterday, so I would have it fresh in mind.
Oh, nice.
And again, love it. 5 stars still. And yeah, can't wait to get into all the spoilery stuff.
Spoilery goodness.
Oh, did you want me to go next, Heather?
Sure. Yeah, and then
Okay, I can go next. I gave it a 5-star too. I really liked the book. Now, granted, it did cause me to be very emotional, and I wanted to jump in the book and kind of join the club so I could take him down as well. But I really like the writing, the topics, and I just thought it was an overall good book. But I know we're going to go into more about what's going on in the book a little bit later, but so I don't want to say anything now. But yes, I gave it a 5-star, and I really enjoyed her previous book that we featured in the club. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this is an author that I would definitely buy anything that comes out. It's an auto buy.
Yes.
Because the book just brings out all the feels. And it's just, I had to drink some wine after reading it because I was so mad.
Yeah, I was exactly the same way. I was almost forgot. I just wanted to mention I also did a Writing Diversity interview with Sonora earlier this year. So if anyone wants to go check that out, it's on my channel.
Yes, that one was
Yes,
so
that was a good
good.
interview.
Yeah,
It was a very good interview.
I should rewatch that one because remember I was jealous. I was like, oh, like you got to meet Sonora. And,
She lives in my town.
right, yeah. That's always cool to see it in set in Phoenix, right? So
Yes, when they were referencing things about, you know, living in Arizona, I was like, yes, that's exactly what it's like. It's great.
Rob said, I love the covers of the books. I may have to read this book. You definitely should.
Yes, yes.
For our 3-year anniversary party last year, we had a book bracket, kind of like the NCAA brackets, kind of. And so we had book brackets of the books that we had read, and I think this one ended up winning as our.
Did it win? I thought it was Angeline's book that won.
Wasn't it Farkeeper?
Yeah, I thought it was.
Was
Firekeeper's
it?
daughter.
Oh, I think
I
maybe
think it
this
was
like
Farkeeper's.
second. Okay,
Yeah.
well this was close to the
It was the second one. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I like distinctly remember it was between this and All My Rage, and I was raging because I had to choose between those two. But yes, Ralph, you should read both of Sonora's books, and also I'm going to pull up the video and link it for you in a second. So,
So Heather.
Yeah, I also am on the Sonora Reyes train. I loved this book as well as their debut book. So for me, it was, going in, I already knew they were a strong writer, and that continued. Just the writing is very good, but also I feel like sometimes with like these kinds of stories, it may be difficult to have characters kind of change and grow and not kind of feel stagnant, especially with the fact that there are multiple side characters. I felt like they did a great job with showing the distinctness between all of the different characters and kind of the arc that especially Ari went through. But I do believe the other characters had, their own arcs in a way. So I loved that. I wrote a story years ago that had a character who kind of had selective mutism, a bit more of a severe form of it, but it was so it kind of like was near and dear to my heart to be able to read about someone who had selective mutism, because I don't think I've come across that in a book before. I know we've read one book before with an autistic main character, but this being the second book, I think it's really important that people see that representation on the page, and even the before the author's note with the kind of trigger warnings. In the physical book, they wrote, "For the neurodivergent darlings, your brain is lovely, and so are you." And I just loved that so much. I think there's a lot of important messages here, and I loved it. So yeah, I gave it a 5 out of 5.
Yay! Yes, but no surprise, I am also on the much justified hype train of the auto buy variation for Sonora. So as long as Sonora keeps coming out with a book a year, like it's probably going to be a book that we read for the club.
Yes.
But I love
like Roseanne Brown.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We've read a lot of good authors. And I had to fight to not read this so fast because I would have devoured it. Because I try to read a little bit every day. And so with this book, if you read 10 pages a day in July, you would finish it in the month. And I read when I would read 10 pages, I'm like, but that's it? I want to read more. So that was like a really good sign, because there's sometimes where I'm reading a book and I'm like, is this chapter almost done? Or like, gosh, like I'm not, I didn't read my pages of for the day yet. But this one I was like, oh, I could totally read more. Like this went by way too fast. So I completely devoured it, which was a good sign. Oh, sorry. I think
I was like, did you hear something?
Yeah, I did hear something. I'm like, I didn't know if it was my cat or like Amazon package being delivered. So sorry, I'm scatterbrained. But I too, like, and I was really glad because, because we had a different book for Pride Month. I was like, oh gosh, and I knew Sonora Reyes' book was coming out, but I was like, oh, we didn't pick it for Pride Month and we can't read it. So then when Vanessa said that there's like, neurodivergent characters in the book, like I was really excited. And I think like that's something that needs to be not like showcased more, but like broadcast more, because there's a lot of people that don't know. And when we were trying to look for books to choose as an option last year for Disability Pride Month, like we were struggling to find stuff, especially by BIPOC authors. So it's really good to see these stories being told, which like that clearly have important messages. So yeah, I love Sonora's like writing style. It's like very refined, but also that like no nonsense where it's like I'm not trying to dig through the words. What does this mean? It's over my head. But and just like I feel like everything was perfect, from the character arcs to the descriptions to just everything that happened and the message. So yeah, I'm excited to dive more into the details.
When I finished it, I wanted to because sometimes I listen to audiobooks. This one I read the physical book, but I was like, I want to listen to the audiobook version now. So I don't know, I might do that at some point.
Yeah, same. I read the physical book, so
and it does go by fast, especially with the audio. I was like, wait, I'm almost done already. I a couple hours yesterday, so
wow.
No.
Awesome. So I know at least for me, last year, I really struggled reading the book with the autistic main character. And I know we had talked about it and kind of attributed it to the character having autism, that like we were seeing everything through their lens. So the descriptions were a little different. And it was really hard for me to get into. But with this, it wasn't. It was more like I was seeing what was happening to Ari and like understanding and knowing exactly why these things were happening and why she was choosing to speak, when she spoke, or stay quiet when she didn't. So like it felt really easy to kind of jump into her head and understand her.
That's true.
I wonder what Alicia thinks. Everyone know what Alicia's thoughts are.
Oh, she gonna have thoughts.
Yes.
I think so. I was like Teresa. I wanted to be part of the club. I was very angry.
I don't think we would want to be part of.
Well, yes,
but we would like want to be like kind of like Angel's character was, like the support.
Yes.
Yeah. The support, or also what's the see, because I like rushed home, I didn't get to like review my things right beforehand. The expose the mierda. I'd be the one supporting the people with the voice, like, yeah, I'll post what you want on expose the mierda, so I'll let you tweet it out. Or maybe not.
I just wanted to be part of the club that when they decided on what they were going to do to try to get back at him, to expose him, I would have chose some very different things to do. to expose him.
You would have been more like Ari. Like Ari was like savage and like,
Yes.
slashing
I was like, yes.
Tires.
yeah, slashing tires and just like wanting,
Yeah.
piss on the chair and get him in trouble and do all this and
And she like scraped the car, and I was like, ooh, you should put some sugar in his gas tank.
yeah.
I was coming up with all this stuff she could do. I was like, ooh, put some vegetable oil in there and some sugar in his gas tank. So then when he starts the car, his gas tank will blow up. It won't catch fire, but it'll blow up. I'm like, yeah.
I was gonna say she was definitely talking without saying words.
Yes.
And she didn't have to talk sometimes because her
No.
actions said it all.
No.
I would have hit him. Straight out would have hit him. And
well, she did hit the guy.
well, another one.
She hit Manny, didn't she?
Manny.
Yeah, Manny.
Oh, yeah.
But no, Luis, I would have straight up hit.
Yes.
And in my case, I would have claimed it was an accident.
Mm-hmm.
Same.
I've actually done that in high school with a guy that I accidentally ran him over with my chair.
I love it. Savage.
He definitely deserved it then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rolf said, I have acquaintances with autism, but I know little of neurodiversity. I think this book can be educational for someone like myself, which is really good. And I actually had just found this person on Bookstagram. Let me look up who they are, because they were posting like book recs, and I think it was for Disability Pride Month. But there was like both like physical like one post would be all with like physical disabilities, and then another would be like, cognitive and intellectual. Oh yeah, _ chronically bookish. So yeah, they were posting, and then also a list of like invisible and undiagnosed disabilities in books. So they've got some good examples. So yeah.
Pretty cool.
So kind of going off on that comment Ralph made. Yeah, I think there's a lot that, when I read this the first time, there was a lot that was kind of eye-opening for me as well. Especially with Ari being autistic and selectively mute, and just how the way her interactions get limited and like not like people are not like really people are not really like wanting to. No one. It's until the club, I think, and except for Louise, no one at the school really, I think, put in effort to like get to know her and like become friends with her because of her not being able to speak. And it's like there may be a communication barrier, but there are other ways people can communicate even if you don't speak. And just kind of seeing her interactions with people at school, and then also with their family, and seeing what that was like was just kind of eye-opening to me, especially when we, like I mentioned earlier, talking about consent and bodily autonomy. her not wanting to be touched or needing some sort of preparation, like asking permission, can I touch you? Can I do that? And I thought that was so important to talk about and to show in here, especially because, since kids growing up, I don't think I think now there's more, there's starting to be more talk around bodily autonomy and getting consent even for kids. But before, I know the generation I grew up in, you had no choice. You had to hug your relatives when they came to visit you. You had to let them kiss you. You had to let them hug you. There is no consent and bodily autonomy with that. And really, that's where it should start. It should start with teaching kids, young kids, no, you have a right to your bodily autonomy. You have right to, others should have to ask for your consent to be touched, even if it's a simple pat on the back, a hug, whatever it is. You don't know what's going to trigger people and what's not. And so I think, and especially with autism, like we were saying, with the sensory overload, that's a trigger. And so I think it's super important to kind of discuss that and teach that to kids from young ages, so when they grow up, they can advocate for themselves, being like, no, I don't want to be touched, or I don't like that, or whatever. Because I think this also plays into, since this book gets into sexual assault and rape culture and all of that, I think this ties into rape culture because, especially as women or female presenting people, you are taught that, we're taught that you have to, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the right word right now. Sort of accommodating of others. And so, when you pair that with always, learning from a young age that relatives can touch you without your consent, they can hug you, kiss you, whatever, without consent, that becomes a thing of, I feel like that makes it harder for women and girls to say no to certain interactions, certain physical interactions with others. Because you're basically teaching that, in this moment, your consent doesn't matter, your bodily autonomy doesn't matter. So what are they going to think when they get into a situation that maybe they're uncomfortable with, but
they're used to just saying, oh, well, that's normal. That's yeah. Ryan said, also Ryan, YouTube autoplay brought him here. So thank you, YouTube. Happy to have you here, Ryan. He said, definitely gave my daughter the agency to decide who she will hug or who hugs her. She decides, and we never made her hug anybody she didn't want to. That's awesome.
That's good.
Yes.
That's good.
And yeah, that's, I had never thought about that either, about the sensory overload. And I didn't think about it until you brought that up, was that with the hugs and stuff, and Heather probably knows this, acquaintance that I'm thinking about from a club that we were in college, and they're like, oh yeah, he doesn't like hugs, and like don't hug him, but then they were like, the friends was like, yeah, you should go up and hug him, and he didn't like hugs. And I know there was even like something with like, what was it, Tom Hanks. There's like a clip of like Tom Hanks at some award show, and then Kesha like ran up to him and was like, oh my gosh, like, can I hug you? And he's like, no. And he didn't know who she was. And then she was like sad that he like said, no, I don't want to hug you. And so that, and she looked all like upset and stuff, but it was just like, it shouldn't have to be this normalized thing. And it's just like, you should be able to say no in your comfort level. And like you said, we don't know what people have gone through and what that means for them to be hugged without permission, or,
Yeah. Respecting their boundaries.
You
got to respect people's boundaries.
Yeah. She wears her headphones a lot, so allowing her to decide what is comfortable for her to do or not do. That's really smart. And Ralph said, it must be harder in our Latin community where we hug and kiss a lot. Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually talking about this with a friend of mine, because I was talking about the book and the same issue and stuff, and she had said the same thing. In Mexican communities, families, that's what's expected, and same thing in Haitian families, communities. Go to my mom's church, everyone's gonna give you a hug and kiss whether you like it or not. But it is something that needs to be, I think, talked about more. And I think it's like our generation and the younger generations that that can bring this up in our communities, that might start to see somewhat of a change.
Yeah, very true. And even like it took Ari a long time before like she felt comfortable with Shawnee touching her. There were some times where like Shawnee, was trying to comfort her, something, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I forgot to ask. And so it took a long time for her to open up both with like the physical touch, the closeness, and speaking.
Right.
I did like the way though Shawnee respected her enough to where, not trying to force her to talk, she would give her like a pen and some paper, and she can say what she needed to say, or they would use her phone and she would text what she needed to say. So she was still speaking, just not verbally. And I like that Shawnee actually respected that.
Yes, that made the relationship so cute. Like I didn't. I wasn't expecting it because I was just all on the, Luis Ortega like hate train, and so then I was like, what's going on here?
Like, oh wait, there's other stuff happening. Oh,
is she jealous of Shawnee looking at, or Luis looking at Shawn? And then I'm like, okay, I am here for this. Super cute. Also, Angel and Jasmine as well. Like, I just thought those were perfect, perfectly cute, and just like very, very natural too. Like I was like noticing and respecting like the showing that Sonora had with Shawnee and Ari's relationship. Oh, they're just watching a movie on the couch, or now they're texting.
Their shoulders touch.
Yeah, just like these little things here and there. That
just little like, small things.
I see you. I see what you're doing. So
yeah, it wasn't like thrown at you. It was just kind of done slowly. It wasn't like over the top.
Insta love.
Yes, it wasn't like the insta love thing. You could see it progressing, and Ari kind of being a little shy about it, but then wanting to explore it. So I thought it was so adorable. It was so adorable.
And they were both, kind of trying to get over this trauma, and so it wasn't like they're like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go and trust you because, I trust that you're not going to do the same thing to me. They both had to like go through that healing process, both individually and together.
And one other thing that I liked was the fact that like Ari's parents, they didn't like make a big deal when, she came out to them. Like it was just nice to see a story where, the parents were like really supportive. The fact that she was bi, and like because I think a lot of those stories sometimes like you see parents who don't like support the kids, but they're like, oh, do you like her, or do you like her, they're like kind of encouraging it. So I think that was really cute.
Yes, Ryan, yes, tell Sydney to read this. She'd probably also like Sonora Reyes' first book, The Lesbiana's Guide to Catholic School. That was also really, really good.
One thing I'll say with their parents, as much as especially her mom annoyed me so much in this book, I appreciated the fact, especially considering the different dynamics that was in Lesbiana's Guide. I appreciated the fact that her parents, Ari's parents, were so supportive of whether she liked Shawnee in that way or not. So I like how her dad was like, I'm just gonna put it out there. Even if you don't ever end up with the boy. I'm like,
yeah. That was so sweet.
That tumultuous relationship with the mom and her parents, trying to make it work, and the mom kind of dropping some balls, just
I was messaging with Teresa, and we were talking about the mom, and I was asking her like what she thought, because I was like, there's a point towards the end where the mom, I didn't want to spoil it for her at the time, but I was like, off at that point, which we can talk about now. But it was when after the dad had left and Ari was wanting to go hang out with their friends, and the mom knew Ari had this thing going on with their friends, and because of everything that was going on in her life and her relationship falling apart and everything, I feel like she kind of took that out on Ari and kind of used her parental authority to abuse the situation and force Ari to stay home with her. And so I got really mad at her at that part. And I was like, it was for most of the book, I was like, she is so codependent as fuck. Like, just
it's like be a mom, not a friend, not a really bad, jealous friend,
like
who doesn't want therapy and thinks that you're the therapist.
I know, which more. I'm like, just get a fucking therapist.
It's like, of course you don't believe in therapy, because that's I was like, you must believe in therapy because your daughter's your therapist. So
yeah, but like I was gonna say, I was talking to Teresa about this because like I was mad at the mom for majority of the book, but then at the end, when she finally opens up and reveals why she is this way, I started to sympathize with her. And I was like, okay, I can understand, but you still need a therapist help, not your doctor.
I'm glad that they talked about it, though, like that they addressed that, and how even at the end where she was like, I want someone who, or like talking about like an online therapist, you don't have to specifically talk to them if you don't want to. I think that was important to, I guess, bring to light as well.
Right. Yeah. Because there's like, everyone promotes like BetterHelp now, and you can like text or, email. Rough. Yes, you will have to read some of the books. And sometimes, and everyone always wants to be like the cool parent, you know.
Mhm.
And I think, yes, Ryan, that's perfect. Her dad first and her friend second.
Right.
Ooh, you're gonna have
Right.
an empty nest soon. Oh.
Yes. I did message Vanessa. I messaged Vanessa and I was like, what in the F is her mom's problem? This lady is tripping. Because I hadn't got to the point where she had expressed herself. And then I was like, oh, okay, that's the reason why she's reacting and she's doing the things that she's doing. And she saw the signs in Ari, which made her want to come clean about everything. Because I was like, Vanessa, I was like, she need to go get a therapist or something.
Yeah.
Or take a sleeping pill and calm down, do something. She is really tripping.
It does make sense now that she had experienced the same thing as Ari did.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we all cope with trauma in different ways. And so her way of coping was she couldn't stand to be alone. She couldn't ever be by herself. And if her husband wasn't going to be around, well, the only other person she had was Ari.
Yeah.
And she latched on even more.
Yeah.
Now, I did respect her. I respected her father, though, because when she went to go see her father and she was talking about her mom, her dad was like, now, what we're not going to do is talk bad about your mother. Because normally when parents are splitting, you know, the one parent tries to make the kid be mad at the other parent and, you know, those kind of dynamics. But her dad was like, nope, what you're not going to do is talk bad about your mom. She's still your mom. We just got some things we just got to work out. Because Ari was trying to vent about her mom to him. So I respected him when he did that, when she went to go see him like, at his brother's house. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And
I will I'll also say this is also a good lesson for people to realize that your spouse, you know, I know you love them and as you should, but they should not be your only friend in your life. Like, because when things were going south with her husband and they separated, like we said, Ari was the only one she had to lean on to get her through and support her, which that should not be the job of your kid. You need other friends outside of your spouse.
And we saw like Ari, like, I mean, and it took her like, you know, that the first like quote I saved was, my voice comes back when I feel completely safe, which is really only ever at home. But she couldn't open up about this for the whole, you know, like not until the end. So even the place where she felt the safest, she still had to, you know, bite her tongue. So
yeah.
I learned something new though reading this book. Going into reading this, I didn't know the stemming part. I didn't know really what that was. And I was like, oh, that's something new to me.
What is it? The
stemming when they were
like when she
was talking about wanting to stem, but her stems weren't socially acceptable like others.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Like she was waving or something like that, waving her hands.
Wasn't she like moving her hands or something? I was like, oh, I didn't know that was like.
And someone gave her something. They kind of recognized she needed, like almost like a fidget, like not a fidget thing, but
a fidget toy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because he recognized the signs of needing to stem. The stemming stuff was familiar for me, as my younger brother has autism as well. So he has done the hand flapping thing, which I thought was really interesting how she talks about it, or how they talk about it in the book, when she, talks about what's socially acceptable and what's not.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was something that, growing up, my parents always tried to get my brother to not do, especially in public. Wasn't socially acceptable. But, she talks about the other types that are, like twirling your hair or locking your
Mm-hmm.
in it. And, those are still styles because they're a form of self-soothing, but they're seen as more acceptable in society.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
She did do a good job of describing it. I was like, I hadn't heard that. And I mean, I work with some ladies that have autistic kids that I'm around, but they hadn't did like the hand flapping or anything like that. So I was like, oh, this is a new thing that I've learned. It's like every
'cause
book
I've
we
never
read, I
heard of
learn
it.
something new.
Yeah, same. Same.
Yeah, like I didn't know that was
Yeah.
like the term for it.
Yeah, I didn't either. I mean, I've seen it done. I've seen autistic kids do it, but I didn't know that that's what it was called. So I was like, ooh, I learned something new,
Mhm.
which I do with every book we read.
Well, I thought it was interesting with Ari, blaming herself, saying that, I feel like I'm the one at fault. Like, I'm not sure if he deserves revenge all that much. This was at first. And then she's like, how could I blame him when I couldn't even bring myself to tell him to stop? I don't want to hurt him. I guess I still care about him. So, like, I liked that she was, and like, at first when she would see Louis, like, she's like, oh my gosh, like, do I still like him? Like, but how could I? And it's like this is like conflicting, and that's okay. Like, someone could still have done something wrong to you, and you can still feel this way. I thought it was really important that she wasn't just like, yeah, he's a jerk and I hate him, but she was kind of like, she had this, these conflicting feelings inside. So
Also, I wanted to point out, I'm looking at some of my notes, but one thing I wanted to talk about was how everyone was kind of like surprised at the end that Louise was a rapist. And I was like, y'all know, you can't tell me you don't. Like,
No.
I'm calling bullshit. I'm calling BS. You knew what he was capable of. I'm like, the folks that were like so shocked or surprised and like didn't know he was capable of actually this, like, you knew the kind of guy he was. He even, I had it in my notes, I said, we can't forget the fact that he told his friends, if you get them drunk or high, they'll do anything. People, this is rape. This is plain out rape. You can't, like, you can't say you didn't know what type of guy he was or what he was capable of when he openly admits this to his friends.
To you.
Yeah.
He was intentional. Everything he was doing was intentional. Even the people that he was choosing were intentional. He was going after people that he felt that didn't have a support system. So I think that's why he chose the people in the group. I think that's why he chose those particular people, because he thought they didn't have a support system. Nobody's going to believe him. And he just felt like Ari, she can't talk. So, I mean, it's not like she's going to go tell anybody. She can't talk.
Yeah.
So he was intentionally picking these particular people because he felt they had no friends, they had no support system, and little did he know, they became each other's support system, became each other's friends, to take him down. So he kind of brought it on himself.
That's what Shauna does, right? I think towards the beginning too, is like, she talks about the fact that he picked all of them because they didn't have anyone else, and that's why he wanted to make the support this club with all of them, so they'd be each other's support.
Yeah, because he thought nothing was going to be done because of who he picked.
Yeah, and
because of who he is, privileged.
Yeah.
You can't forget Daddy's a judge, so he thought he was going to get away with it, which is why I was so happy when Ari recorded that at the end.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I wrote in like all caps, entitled ass. I was so mad at him. I was like, oh, you think like you're gonna, oh gosh, he just got me so mad at the end.
Yes.
That just speaks to the fact that I think it just speaks to the fact that the way our system is and the way our system works, because most rapists do get away with it and abusing people, and so it just entitles them even more. The more they get away with things, the more entitled they feel.
Yeah, because like even up to the very end, he was like trying to gaslight and just like not admitting, because I had marked when he's like, I mean, it's not like I raped you. You went into that night wanting me. I know you did, with that skimpy little black dress. You were flirting with me. You can't put all the blame on me, you know. And I'm like, that's like typical just like you know, and I'm like that. Yeah, it was just so infuriating, the fact that like he still like he could have redeemed, like not like he could have redeemed himself, but he could have at least, there was no like remorse at all, like no like you know, realization that, oh man, I effed up, I totally made a mistake. Like he still was like just like, what? I didn't do anything wrong.
Like, he's arrogant.
From the beginning.
And it's true. There's some people who literally cannot see like
that they did something wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
He was never going to be one that would have an redemptive arc, because he was an ass from the beginning, and that was never going to change.
And he thought like because he like screwed over Ed, that like he could just do it again. Like, oh yeah, I could just get you locked up. You know, just saying that like he
like I did Ed.
Yeah. So I'm glad that Ed had like a happy ending, you know, too, because he was one of the good ones. One of the things I was gonna say when you're talking about how they all Teresa, how you said they all became each other's support system, I really appreciated that when they like realized that like all they had in common was like hating Luis, and they were only always talking about him, and like, oh, I thought we were supposed to be friends. And like I always like remember that from when I first started querying, and I saw some agents say like, oh, it must pass the Bechdel test. I had to look it up, and there was another test, but the Bechdel test is if when like two friends are talking, like if it's two girls, they're talking about more than just the guys they like, or you know, two guys are talking about more than just girls. So there has to be more to the friendship. So I was like, oh, this passes the Bechdel test. But it's good because that's how they grew closer together, because even then when they, you know, justice was brought to, you know, to their stories, like they still were able to remain friends because they had built a stronger friendship away from that. Yeah.
Because at first I was thinking they weren't going to be able to take him down. I was like, he's just going to get away with this. Nobody's even believing the articles and stuff they're been. Something's got to give here. I mean, he's got to get caught for what he's been doing. And then Ari says that I don't have to tell my story in order for us to take down Louise. All I need to do is help everyone else tell theirs.
Mm.
And that's when she starts going to them, and they kind of like asking the other people. And then you start finding out that he not only raped her, he raped a couple other people in the group, but they just didn't say anything or bring it up.
Right.
So I was like, okay, she's becoming stronger.
Right.
As this is going on.
Yes. Yeah, and Heather had to leave. She had to cut out a couple minutes early.
Yeah.
She's doing things. So she just, she skedaddled, but she's linked down below. Brian recently watched a TikTok series on the Bechtel test. Yay, the TikTok still has some good educational material. Very informative, yeah.
I was going to say, along with the Bechtel test, there's another test. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but it's similar to the Bechtel test, but it's for women characters that are of color. So it's specifically like hold on, I have it in my notes here because I was actually rewatching. I've been rewatching the Vampire Diaries, and I've taken notes on how Bonnie's character is in the show, and a lot of times she fails. The writers fail with this test with Bonnie, but it's let me see, Kent test is what it's called.
What is it?
Kent, Kent, and so the requirements for the Kent test is must not solely exist in a film or piece of media for the purpose of fetishization. I can never say that word. Must not solely be a walking stereotype or trope. Must have their own plot or narrative arc. Must not be solely included in the narrative just for the purpose of holding down some male character in his story. Must not solely be included in the narrative to prop up a female white character. Must have at least one interaction with another woman or femme of color. Must not be the go-to sacrifice in a film or piece of media. Bonnie maybe passed that test once or twice in the whole season 1.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
I'm like, but
that's
yeah,
a good test. That's good.
I was, yeah. So that's what it just reminded me of when you mentioned the Bechdel test. And in this book, I think, obviously, Sonora does a great job with all of that and all the topics that she handles. I'm really impressed and surprised at how well she touches on and handles so many deep topics in such a book. Like you were saying at the beginning, this book goes by really quick. It's a short book, but she uses every word on the page very intentionally, and there's so much impact and a lot of nuance in the story, even though it's a short one. So
yes,
I was really impressed with that as well.
Yes.
I agree. To bring
I
up
will say my absolute favorite part of this book
I was about to talk about a favorite
is that in the acknowledgments, the last paragraph of the acknowledgments is my
Yes.
absolute favorite part of this
Yes.
book.
Read it. Yes.
And lastly, to all the real life Louise Ortegas of the world, I hope you fall dick first on a cactus. I hope you choke on Cheeto dust. I hope every time it's really hot at night and you flip your pillow to feel the cool side, I hope it's hot on that side too. I hope your spoon falls all the way in your soup. And I hope you hear about this book and I hope it haunts you.
Oh.
That is like
Snap. So good. Oh.
Oh my god, I love them for that. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
After being so frustrated and emotional and having sympathy for the mom and dealing with all the stuff that the group goes through to try to, make people understand this dude is a bad dude. I get to that part and I'm like, yes.
I actually thought you were gonna go to this other part in the book with the mom, Mrs. Roberts. That was like my favorite scene in the entire book. It had me cracking up and cheering and going, yes, be that mom. Everyone needs to be that mom. When she is Manny's mom, and when she finds out what that Manny smacked Ari's butt,
Oh yes.
to school
Yes.
and gives him a whooping in front of
And
everyone.
everybody. Yes. I have that tag too.
Okay. I normally do not agree with corporal punishment, but in this case, go for it, girl. Like I
was like, yeah, that's my type of mom. Because I had to do that with my son one day when at his school. He was in middle school then, and I don't know if they were bullying this little boy or not, but my son had did some chores and stuff, and he had made like $45. And I always had them keep money in their wallet when they go to school. And I guess he had took $5 from this kid that they were bullying, and they caught me to the school. And I go to the school, and I'm like, okay, I'm talking to the principal. And he's like, yes, Miss Morris. That's when I hadn't got married yet. Yes, Miss Morris, your son was in with another group of kids and took this young man's $5. And I was like, what? He took his $5? And he was like, yes. So my son's standing there and I was like, you got your wallet with you? He's like, yes, ma'am. I said, take your wallet out. He was like, okay. So he takes his wallet out and I was like, okay, is your money still in there? He was like, yeah. I said, the $45 that you made? He said, yeah. And I said, okay, give that $45 plus the $5 that you took back to the kid. And he had to give all his money that he had made to the little boy. And the little boy's like, ma'am, I can't take that. I said, yes, you can, because I'm going to have the principal call your mom and explain to her why you're coming home with $50 instead of your $5. So, and my son was so livid. He was like, I gotta give all my money to him. I said, I go to work every day. You do not want for anything. But you do not take another kid's money that he probably did chores to earn because you want to show that you're the macho guy in the group. No. I said, so your punishment is you have to give your money to him. He was like, but mom, that's all my money. I earned that money. I said, yes, and the $5 that you took from that young man, he earned that too. So give him your money. Oh my God, my son was so mad at me. I said, I don't raise thieves. I'm not raising thieves. And I go to work every day to make sure you have money and to make sure you have the things. You do not take from another young black man. No, that doesn't work for me. And the principal looked at me and was like, oh my God, you're like actually disciplining? I said, I don't play that. My boys know that. No, I'm not raising no thugs. I'm not raising
$5 and
nope.
From anyone.
I said, I'm not raising thugs or managed kids. So nope, this is how it is. He was like, oh my God, Miss Morris, I wish all the parents at this school were like you. I was like, yep. I said, and you apologize to him, and you take your butt back to class, and we'll discuss it a little bit more when you get home. Because I'm gonna whoop your butt when you get home. Can't do it in front of the principal, but I'm gonna get you when you get home because you know better.
And that
He
will
was
carry
so
over
mad at me.
to like that will I'm sure that carried over for him with like respecting people with other things as well, you know.
Yes.
It's like
He never did it again. He never did it again because he was like, oh man, I made that $45 and now I can't go get my game because my video game because I messed up. So I was like, nope. Yeah. So because I was taking him that weekend to go buy this video game for his Nintendo that he wanted, but I was like, nope, won't be getting no game this time because you shouldn't have did what you did. And he, of course, he went and tattled to me to my mom. Was like, Grandma, Mom took my money, Mom. He was trying to get me in trouble. It didn't work.
It did not work.
Nope.
Hunter said, good for you. So many children grow up without discipline, and it's honestly so unhealthy for them.
Yes, thank you, Hunter. Yes, I'm not doing that. And being a mom of all boys, I had 3 boys. So of course, you know, and I chose to be a single mom. So, and not marry their dad. So I was like, nope, it's gonna be tough, but I'm not raising no thieves. They're not coming out of my house. Nope, not happening.
Yeah, I wish there were more people like, yeah.
Yeah, the principal was like, I cannot believe you did that. I was like, yeah. He was like, I wish there was more moms at this school like you that don't just attack the teacher. Because I guess a lot of the parents were like attacking the teachers and the principal instead of disciplining their kids. I have 3 boys. I know that they're going to do stuff. I did the stuff when I was young. I did stupid stuff too. So I'm not going to just take my kids' side when I know more than likely they probably did what you said they did because they're boys. I don't put nothing past my kids. And I told the principal that. I said, I do not put nothing past my boys. Yeah. So I'm not like your other parents because I actually know my kids and I know that they probably would do something like that. So
that was something we talked about in our SPU episode when you mentioned about the mom protecting the son. In that episode. Yeah. A lot of parents will, like, you know, even if their kid messes up really bad, they'll do whatever to protect them. And I'm like, you gotta let them have consequences. You gotta let them learn.
Yep, I'm like, you did the crime, you gotta pay the time. And that's your $45 getting taken away. I mean, but you have to do that because if you're protecting them, you're getting them out of everything, you're going to be another Louise. Because his dad, he just go to his dad. His dad's a judge. He's well known in the community. So, of course, he gets out of a lot of things. And that's how a lot of these kids are. Moms, like, you know, always taking their side, or their parents are always taking their side and getting them out of things. So then they're not learning anything. They're not learning from that experience. They're learning. Well, yeah, they are learning. They're learning that, oh, I just go to my parents and they'll get me out of everything.
Yeah, exactly.
But
that's why I was glad there was like justice in the end, and like, you know, he ended up confessing and going to jail, registered sex offender, you know, like that, like he got his just dues, and you know, that was like sweet. That was the best revenge. So respect.
Before I forget, there was actually one last thing I wanted to point out in here.
That's what I was going to ask, if there was any other last points.
Yeah, there was. Hold on. Okay, yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna read two parts here. They're both related. Goes together. But on page 33, I think this might be Ari talking. I'm not sure. I don't remember. But it says, let's see. The only reason they're all talking, it's Ari. The only reason they're all talking to me is because they know I had sex with Louise. Do they think just because I had sex with Louise that I would do it with them too? would it kill people to be nice without having ulterior motives?
Mm-hmm.
And on page 137, let me see, on page 137, I think this was I can't remember who it was talking here. It wasn't.
Was it Nina?
Yeah, maybe Nina. But the part where they say where is it? There's a bit of a pause. Then I don't know. It was kind of like I wasn't even there. Like he was just using me to get off. And as soon as he did, he put his clothes back on and left. What a fucking asshole, right? And that was when they were talking about her sleeping with Louise, and basically Louise used her just to get off and like
Mm-hmm.
her. Kind of, goes back to the whole women being seen as sexual objects and stuff. And I wanted to point this out because I around the time I was reading this the first time, I had seen a video on Jubilee. It was their I think it was their alpha versus beta males video on Jubilee. And the way some of the alpha males talk, I was just gross. I don't know how women want to be around men like that. But it just reminded me of that video because the way the guys were talking made it like one of them had said something about like if you're not in a sexual relationship with a woman, then why would you be friends with her?
Oh,
As if like the only
wow.
reason to ever be in a relationship with any woman is to either have sex or some other benefit. And there was another who said something similar as well. And I was just, again, that's why I'm like, how does any woman be attracted to guys like this? I don't know. But it's reminded me of that video because there was something else one of the alpha males said in the video that basically I made a comment on the video too, and I forget what I said exactly, but basically it boils down to them not seeing women as humans, as human beings, seeing them as a means to an end, which is how Louise treated Nina when she was talking about that part of the book. So yeah, that's just something I wanted to bring up because unfortunately, as much as it sucks, there are guys in the world, people in the world that do think and act like the Louise in this book.
Yep.
Yeah,
They do.
unfortunately, it's not fiction.
Nope. It happens all the time. Hey, Vanessa, that part that you were telling us about, I think Nina had recorded someone else telling her that, and she was playing the recording for them because Shawnee says, "How did you get her to admit that? Do you guys know each other?" And she said, "Not." Nina says, "Not really. We bonded over our hatred for Louise first."
Yeah.
So it must have been someone she like interviewed and they let her record them.
Yeah,
because
I don't remember who it was, but
I don't know. I don't think she ever said her name, but I think it was just like somebody
they recorded.
Because she said she said, good, right? We got proof he cheated on Shawnee and that he's horrible to the people he had sex with. Double whammy. I can get more. And then that's when Shawnee asked her, how does she get the girl to admit it? So I think that was when they were trying to get more people to acknowledge that he had did the same thing to them. And she was just bringing that. Because at first I thought it was Nina too until I just reread that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Louise is just bad.
He is.
He's just bad.
Oh.
He just, but you know, there's a Louise on every campus, at every high school, on jobs, at parties. So, I mean, there's Louises everywhere. But, I mean, you just got to be strong like Ari and the group was to, like, acknowledge it. Because a lot of people that are, when I interviewed rapists and I interviewed rape victims, a lot of them don't say anything because they know nothing's going to be done. And most rapists do it because it's the power thing for them. But a lot of them also said that they would go back to the same person and do it again because the person never told anything.
Oh.
So it's because they kind of, some of them said that they did get it, the person that they had raped, they kept going back because they did get like an attachment to that person because until the control was gone, like if they raped the person and then the person didn't like fight back or they just wanted to get it over with, that would lose the appeal and then they would leave that person alone.
That
but sometimes
that just made me think of do you remember that SVU episode with the girl who the doctor raped her when she was a candy striper at the hospital and he following her? He like moved cities and he followed her to
the next city.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Some rapists, they I was shocked when I was interviewing these people, but I was like, well, what is it though? What do you get out of doing that? And it's like the control, the fear factor. Some of them said that they like to see the fear in the person's face because they were stronger than them and they couldn't do anything about it. And then, you know, some said they were doing it to get back at particular people that was in their life that raped them. And then some got attached to the victims and just kept going back. And if they moved, they kind of went with them.
Yeah.
Or they tracked them down so they could do it again. It's like a power thing.
Yeah.
You got some that are just blunt with it, and then you got some that are like Louise that kind of do it underhanded, even though he knows he's doing it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's why I think this book affected me so much.
Yes, so definitely, if you guys haven't read Luis Ortega, definitely read it.
That's why, like I said at the beginning, this book does a great job with talking about consent and autonomy and what that looks like. And that was the other thing. I was like, this is the sad thing is that Ari saw Angel's interaction, I think, with Nina, when like he was tickling her and she said stop and he immediately stopped. And she was surprised by that because she didn't think that people would actually do that, would actually listen when someone said
stop.
Right.
And unfortunately, a lot of people believe that same thing, that, you know, you can say stop or no, and it's not gonna change anything. They're not gonna stop.
Right.
Yeah. But you know, at the beginning, Ari, to me, it seemed like Ari didn't realize that she had been raped. It kind of came to her later on in the book.
Yeah.
She knew she didn't want him to do it, but I don't think at that point, at the beginning when you first start the book, that she actually knew
No.
that she was raped. She was just upset that he did what he did.
Mm-hmm.
But then as the book goes on and she actually acknowledges, wait a minute, Louise, he did rape me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
she gave him the benefit of the doubt because she still
yeah.
He gave him the benefit of the doubt, thinking that, because she couldn't talk and she couldn't say no, that's why he did what he did. And if she had been able to say no, then it would have changed things, which is why I'm glad at the end when the mom opened up, she said, even when you speak, even when you do have a voice, always change things.
Yeah.
To make a difference.
Yeah.
Because guys like Louise, whether you can talk or not, they're gonna do what they're gonna do.
They want to do. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And didn't the dad say that? Like sometimes boys, even if you can talk, sometimes boys still don't listen.
Yeah, her dad did tell her that.
Yeah.
So they were very supportive parents, which was a good thing. And they didn't judge her or fault her like some people do when it comes to rape victims. They judge the person, the victim, instead of the people doing it.
So Hunter had been talking about she'd been talking about her book, a young adult mystery with a wide variety of representations, including queer, Black, Asian, adoption, biracial, Middle Eastern, and deaf representation, which sounds awesome. And I was telling her, I'm like, yeah, this could totally be a book club pick when you finish it. And we, in December, we have In December, where we pick an indie book. So if not this December, then next December. Well, thank you. Zuko has been all over. He's getting restless. So I know we did go. I knew we were going to. I was like, I know this is going to be a discussion. We're going to go over the hour. For sure. I knew, but it was much needed. And it was great. So thanks for joining us for the discussion. I know there were some tough topics that we talked about. I have to pull up my phone in my audiobook because right now I'm listening to the audiobook. And join us for our August book of the month pick, which is Yellowface.
Yellowface.
Hey, you've got it. Yellowface. Oh wait, it's so. Oh wow. This is bad. Okay. Oh, it's on my phone. It's right here.
Yes, Yellowface.
Yes, which I started and is really, really good so far. So
yes, I'm on page 80 so far.
Nice.
I just started. I'm on chapter 6 on page 80.
Nice. So join us for that. Also, if you want to join our Discord, we also have a Discord now. You can either be on Goodreads or Discord or both, whichever. I just post announcements to both platforms. So Hunter, if you have a November pick, you can post you can either say it here or post in the group. And I believe I have the bookshelf open, so anyone can add a book to the to read list on the Goodreads group's bookshelf. So that should also be linked down below if you want to. And then we also have a thread for like book recommendations. So Vanessa frequently puts good
books on there.
But I'm on here right now, so on my naughty list. Oh, that sounds interesting.
Oh. It sounds like a Christmas tree.
Yes, it's a Christmas run. Oh.
Oh.
That sounds really, really fun. we haven't read just like a straight rom-com in a while.
Yeah.
So awesome. Thank you for the rec. And thanks everyone again. My lovely co-hosts are linked down below, and we will see you next month. All right. Bye everyone.
Bye.
Bye.